All right, very happy to welcome back the legendary bass player Mike Boone to the podcast. If you haven't checked out his first episode, be sure to listen to it on Spotify, Audible, iTunes, and also watch the video on YouTube as well. And we are live. Mike, good to see you.
Good to see you. You must be a glutton for punishment. Twice again. Oh God. All right. Well, no, on a real tip is thank you for having me. Thank you for doing what you're doing. To really to reiterate something.
Yeah, my pleasure. We had
Um,
we had a really great interview the first time. It was probably one of the most real, most honest ones. You're not afraid to let your guard down and really have a genuine conversation. And I appreciate it.
well, I'm just trying to be part of, as they say, part of the solution and not part of the problem. And some of that, I mean, a lot of the problems are people. You phrase as letting your guard down. I don't know if I mean, if I do, it's purposely because I mean that implies something's coming back at you and you're throwing something out there, and that's one way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, I believe in just trying to be real. Like I always come back to age. I've been on this earth for a while, so I mean, I don't, I've seen enough phony stuff and I've seen enough real stuff. We're definitely seeing a lot of stuff that's kind of so it's like it's important, to try to at least somebody's got to,
Yeah, I know. I think we
it's
definitely
kind
so
of fun sometimes. But no, you
we
go
de-
ahead, bro. You got
no, we definitely. I mean, if we're not being ourselves, we definitely do suffer. I mean, I feel like most people are filtering themselves, and we're just, especially in the community, that we have to, be sort of politically correct, which is kind of like I've always found it like there's so much the amount of shit talking, and I think we're all guilty of it to some extent among the jazz musicians, like even among some of the best players, is pretty crazy to me. People always find a way to find
this.
something wrong.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like I alluded to earlier, on the last podcast we did. The music industry, or just music in general. Well, let's talk about jazz because that's an interesting phenomenon within itself. It's kind of it's taken on like so something almost like the sports, like they become, or at least maybe in their own minds. That's what's really, like the athletes. You give them, you have awards like in anything. Athletes. They have Super Bowls. You have like World Series. You have things that you do accomplish. So I guess in our line, winning a Grammy or getting some kind of award or some kind of lifetime or whatever, your record of the year, whatever, record of the month. So those types of like landmark things that are only given to maybe just a handful of people out of all the people that are doing or trying to do what that is. So yeah, I mean, to double back to the shit talking, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's not afraid to curse on, yeah, podcast.
Wait,
But
Mike,
yeah,
just make sure you're getting a little closer to the phone. That's all. Just so I could hear you a little clearer.
okay, my bad. Yeah, I tend to. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think it's just trying to like maybe so I mean everybody's good, but a lot of folks are good. All the contenders. It's just like in football to make an analogy, like any given Sunday or any kind of sports. I mean, if we're all at a certain point, everybody's pros. Everybody can play their instrument, and then if you've been around for a while, you didn't get any worse. If you're a young person, that's good because we're always looking for the new guy, whether it's somebody totally different. Usually, it's the new somebody that was already there. The new, I'll name somebody. The new train, if there is a new train. The new um, Cannonball Adderley. There's this guy Patrick Bartlett that's making Case his ass
Oh,
off.
he's
But
amazing.
one
He's
of
he's great. He's great.
one of the tags they put on him, and then it was like, well, he's like sounds like Cannonball. And then if you listen, it's like kind of crazy. So but that's the thing. We've always had folks, the next time, even in sports, who's the next so and so, like somebody sets the bar, and then somebody else comes along, and maybe they might surpass the bar, or they may at least come up to it. So I get all of that. I think some of that's necessary just to keep the art or the aesthetic up. But the reality is, there's a lot of us, and it's not, I guess we're competing for gigs and things like that, and notoriety,
Well, too,
human nature.
someone will say that, oh, that person is just a copy of this musician, or they'll say like, oh, he just sounds like so and so, when in reality we're all, it's not possible to sound exactly like somebody. I mean, you can maybe play a few things, but
It's, yeah.
they might use that as a way to put down something they've worked so hard on for so many years. They just happen to hear the music a certain way.
Right. Well, that like yeah. I mean, you can say it's funny. They're like I have a classical music upbringing. I started playing classical piano, then I switched to bass. So I didn't play jazz until I actually got to college. I started
Same.
listening a little. So lost my train of thought. So what were you saying again? Damn.
Oh, what I was saying was that there's musicians out there who have a very strong influence by so and so, but then other musicians will say, "Oh, they just sound like them," or "They just a
Right,
copy of
right,
them,"
right.
and it really puts down something like they're just hearing the music a certain way. It's not possible to be exactly the same person. It's just not.
Right, right. Wow. Great man. You remembered everything. Okay, I was going to, so I was, I'm tying once again. I'm always trying to stress something. I've been listening to a lot of classical music lately because I have a classical background, and in particular like the Baroque stuff, like or whatever, like Bach. That's Bach. That's Baroque. Mozart's a little later classical, Beethoven, all that. But there were a lot of other composers like from Bach's era, from all those guys, from Mozart, and there were quite a handful of women composers, probably more than we're discovering. But my point is, if you listen, like there's a certain thing, like they all kind of sound the same a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a little, you really gotta know your shit to know. Okay, that's a little bit, and some of the stuff that really didn't make the grade, in terms of like being classics. Like I've heard, like RTI, they play a lot of stuff, like maybe like women composers, like women you hear like from that century, or somebody that was like studied with the same guy, whoever, and you'll hear like a funny chorus, like, oh shit, what was that? Like I guess it was just a little too out, but you hear it. So the point is, it's like we all have to come from somewhere, and then somebody for some reason it takes the lead. Somebody, but oh, we like the way that tastes. That's the best, and that guy runs with it. And so yeah, it's tricky. I think the key is to try to find your audience. I think that's the key because I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a lot more. I would think there's a lot more listeners or potential listeners out there than there are actual players.
Oh, a
Like
hundred
players
percent.
that are working. Exactly. So you got to look at like, well, who do I appeal to? There's room for everybody, and some folks that's just where they max out. They max out at sounding like that's what they want. They want to sound like some people want to sound like 1920s jazz. And they get with, but you got to make sure you're with every cats that are from that. That's what they want to do, and they've studied and they put in. Maybe they've actually been mentored by folks. So for specificity, damn it, it's important. I think but it's funny because it's like a lot of times it's who and then who determines? It's like, okay, all right, so we all sound, so some people sound like, I don't know. I mean, it's tricky. Some people, it's more obvious than others. I think it depends on taste. What happens if they get picked for whatever, then I think that's where the jealousy, the envy, and that's where the shit talking comes in. Because the reality is, it's like, once again, anybody, that guy could play and he's got his thing or she's got it. But the conditions being right, another player could come up there and play something that night in front of that audience that's maybe more meaningful. And God forbid if it's recorded or videotaped. Oh my God, oh my
Oh
God,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, people, you get stressed out, and with TikTok and all of this stuff, it's like you miss the bridge of Cherokee, and shit, 5 hours everybody knows,
Yeah,
because
your
it's
career is over, right? Yeah, you missed
but
the
people are like really thinking, so it's like it's a shame you didn't really have to worry about that before all of this stuff.
And
So
everyone plays so differently too. Some of my favorite recordings are with musicians who played nothing like each other, like Grant Green recorded with McCoy Tyner. They couldn't have been any different.
yeah, but you see how it worked, and they spent a lot of time together. I mean, he was here. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you think of Grant Green, you think of like great. You think of collard green. You think of all that kind of good stuff. but he also had an ear to hear some of the modal stuff at the same time. I mean, so I think did he do something with Larry Young, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Larry Young and Grant Green, yeah.
Well, so I mean, so you talk about two of the most modal cats, from sonically from that, the organ and the piano, and he managed to put a lot. So yeah, so that's the other mark of a musician. What do you do? Like, there's lots of neighborhoods. There's a lot of different. Have you been to this? Have you been to Chinatown? Have you been to Japantown? Have you been to, the Italian market? Have you know what I'm saying? It's like
I
there
love
are
it
people
all
that
though.
live
I
there,
think
the people that do that thing.
I love it
There you
all.
go. And if you love it all, you'll be able to play it. And that's going to help the music that you really want to play. I think that people forget about. See, jazz, jazz is about all the other shit. It's about all the other music. And at least it's having an awareness of it. That's just what I found out. That's what works for me. Mike Boone, no jazz degree in music, whatever, just journeyman guy, a couple receipts. But that's what works for me. Just having a taste, loving R&B, loving if I hear a drummer that's like laying it down, or somebody's, bro, he's got it. He's got my money. If I hear a 2-3, whatever it is, if it's as long as it's good. If I hear some rock, and I'm not even a rock guy, but if I motherfucker, if somebody's screaming and he's like, funny, lead singing in rock is very close to opera. People don't really realize that. It's Freddie Mercury, so if I hear something, I gotta feel like I gotta feel it.
You got to feel it.
I gotta feel it. I gotta feel it. Some kind. If I feel it, then I know it's true because it's affecting my senses. It's like it's resonating. Whatever they're doing, because and then I can take it from there. So if I can contribute musically, fine. If not, I will take my place at the seat or at the bar, and I'll be cheering and I'll be listening because I'll be just as engaged because I got my ears. Because
Yeah.
we're really about listening first. So we got to listen. How are we gonna? If we're so busy trying to play what we're trying to practice and not listening to just observing all the rest of the stuff that's out there, what are we gonna come up with?
Yeah. Can
The
I ask you a
shit we
question?
practice.
Um,
Sure.
so there's many different ways to approach actually getting on stage and improvising. Sometimes I feel like I've got to be, as Ralph Lalama describes, you got to be a bull in a china shop when things aren't going away, like whether it's the sound, but sometimes you can actually like detach from yourself and it's like you seeing through the music. I think I like to describe it like that. You're playing, you're not, I'm not playing the guitar, I'm playing whatever's it's hard, it's like you're playing through the music, I like to think of it as. And then there's times where you can close your eyes and just not have to try it all and it comes out. There's so many different mindsets, I guess you could say, when you improvise. And do you find that you've thought about maybe similar things in terms of like when you're playing in certain situations and you're in a certain mindset, or well, even just I'm talking like maybe even like detaching from yourself a little bit when you play? Like, can you anything like that come to mind?
Wow, great question. Oh my God, wow. You do this for a living. Actually, you do this for a living. Okay, let's see. First of all, Ralph Lalama, I think I kind of get the bull in the china shop thing, and this is just my theory on that. I think him being a sax player or like a melody instrument that's obviously playing over top of a rhythm section or something where you know you could actually take him out of it and you'd still have a functioning something going.
Sure.
So and he's trying to improvise, but there's three these folks up under him that are hopefully accompanying him while hopefully doing some improvisatory stuff too, because that's one of the fundamentals. So sometimes that might be a ray, or maybe there's like a beat placement issue. So maybe that would be so you bull in a china shop, so you just a barreling through,
Well,
and
that
this
he
is
says
not
that's
a
when
diss.
things aren't going his way on the bandstand, how he has
Right. So
to.
you end up doing, well, and of course, but once again, as a horn player, I get that. But as a bass, but as maybe another instrument, there's other ways where I don't know. I know for me, let me. I just said that. Now let me answer what it does. What I think about, I try to take. First of all, I try to really approach each song the clean state. I don't really practice soloing. I practice the technique. I practice some of the chops that I would need if I hear something. I don't really try to practice what I'm going to play. I think I should do some of that. I think that's kind of slowed me down. But it's like I feel like I'm going to try to really make something up. I mean, I'm not really making anything up.
You
But
mean you should say
if I, but
you think you should practice improvising more? You're saying versus the
I
technical
think I
stuff?
should, yeah, just what I should practice. What, yeah. But then again, so much of my stuff depends on what somebody else is going to do. I'm there first. You know, here's something hit. I'm gonna play off of that, or I'm gonna get the hell out the way. You
Yeah.
know, and as a bass player, I'm supposed to listen first. I'm not saying horn players don't listen first, but we all have our roles in the music. So, you know, I could be a bull in a china shop too. So could a drum, and
Yeah.
sometimes we've all had to do that. And you can hear, you know. So it's like, you know, and sometimes that's okay. Sometimes the music, oh, actually, I get that, but for me, that's what I practice. And then who I'm playing with, and then I depend on the song. And then I try to do different solos. We're playing a set, and we're playing, maybe we play 4 or 5 tunes a set. And if I'm soloing on every song, which first of all, I don't have to solo, but if that becomes the case because I have to, so I try to play different kinds of solo. Maybe I may explore different registers. I may force myself to do something different. Like I'm not like a real great with the bow, but every now and then I'll pull it out just to try. I may get lucky. I mean, I know what to do. I mean, so I try to challenge myself. I try to make myself do something, just a little different. I know I'm recording myself if it's any, so I know I'm gonna listen back and see if it worked or not to what extent. So yeah, I just try to, yeah, I mean, I try to take each solo on its own. I'm not looking for like a lot of guys when they play, they're looking. It's almost like they're running like an obstacle course. It's like I said, what's back to the athletic thing? There's like a floor exercise.
Cutting and pasting over the chord changes.
That's
So
some of it. Well, that's part. That's another part. But if that's what they do now, well, that's because of the. Well, it's funny. I call these young guys digital composites. Like if you're under 30 years old and you've been to school, you're a digital composite. I'm kind of like a hybrid professor guy. I got some of the old shit, but I'm definitely got some new shit. And then so it's like that's just my own personal,
I love it. No, I love the way you're
monotistic type.
describing that.
But you know what I'm because they exist. And then you got the professors who are kind of like hybrids. Depending on how old the older professors are, probably more, you know, you know. But let's face it, if you're over 60, under 60 years old, you've gone through some kind of institutionalization. And if you're under 40, you probably started like back in middle school. They've been tracking you, man. They've been some of these guys. So, but back to the soloing, it's like I just try for me personally, and it's like I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to say something that sounds like that can be okay. That makes sense. He knows what he's talking about, and then I try to play. You know, once again, a lot of what I do is based on what I hear the other musicians. Now, if they're not, now if nothing's really happened down there, then maybe I got to. Then at that point, I become that bull in the china shop, and I
Yeah.
just play a bunch of running eighth notes, or I just play like groups, and here's the fucking time, here's where it is. Somebody fell off the beat or something like that, So at that point, you only become a bull in the china shop when when you. I don't know, it's funny because the China's not moving, but you just got, like you say, when it doesn't, you got to keep it going. You can't stop. Last thing you want to do, although every once in a while, but so and you got to be able to do that when it does happen. You got to have the ability to be that bull inside the shop. I'll go that step further.
You
Oh,
want
it's
to
like
what
like
about
something you don't want to pull out all the time.
yeah, what about substances? Substance use at all? Any like having a drink
Oh,
before
Lord.
or anything like
Oh,
that?
okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I drink. I mean, I only drink on the gig, and I drink beer. I'm a marijuana guy. I've been smoking marijuana since college. I've had my run-ins with cocaine and crack and some other things. I never did any needles. I really did the pills. As far as you're playing, I mean, that's personal. You gotta, you know, you have a responsibility to play well. Now if you can do that, and if you're buzzed, then okay.
I like a
I think,
beer, but wine will put me to sleep, If I
well, once again, you have to be you have to be an adult about this music,
Sure.
and part of that is like what you do off the bandstand.
Yeah.
especially if you're going to get on the bandstand. Now, once the gig is over, then as long as you don't, you got to get home. That's your other gig. You got to
Yeah.
get home. I got to get home from small. Then fucking Monday, like 5 in the morning and stuff like that. So I can't get, but so I got after a full night of whatever, then I still got to do 2 hours. So my gig ain't over till I pull into my driveway. Or I pull into the Wawa to chill out or something like that. And sometimes, so it's about being responsible, and you got to know yourself. I mean, and I get, because music it can be kind of scary. It's like you're flying without, like, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of variables, a lot of stuff can go wrong. A lot of stuff hopefully will go right, but a lot of stuff definitely can. Just your own personal, like you've been practicing, you want to sound good, so you might be nervous, and it's a good thing. Of course. So I get whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not a judge. I will definitely not judge you. I've seen the results when people get too, high or too whatever.
When
So
yeah,
once again,
some people take it
everything
too
has,
far. Some people
yeah.
take it
So,
too far.
but that's, but like anything, you gotta, it's like, like if you eat too much, you're gonna, it's, balance. I would say that balance is always the key. That's always a good, thing, regardless of what you're doing. If you're, or just in trying to be balanced. So yeah. So as far as that, whatever. I mean, if I smoke weed, so if you guys, we can get high together. Whatever. That's just what. That's my. I never smoked cigarettes. Thank God. Oh my God. But so I mean, we do what we do, and once again, I'm, I constantly taping myself, so I hear. So if I was, I'll know. Okay, that's awful.
Yeah. Well, no, I just think it's
And
I
that,
do
that, that
think it's prevalent though to discuss these things because
well,
you'll
yeah, well,
learn.
it's part of jazz. I mean, you want to talk about jazz education and education being a problem. That's definitely part of it. And we certainly, thank you, Lord, we certainly have enough examples of folks that abused substances. We don't need to reiterate that. I mean, it's almost like a lot of times those abuses are almost overshadowed, or at least we're almost equal in terms of people remembering them. So so once again, I mean, there's lessons to be learned. There's a lot of folks. A lot of our heroes. I mean, the obvious one obviously is Charlie Parker. It comes to mind. But the point is, it's like, and that was also part of the culture too. Some folks that was just what folks did, and I don't even know if I should say this, but I'll say it anyway. Fuck it. Years ago, like when I was with Buddy's band, a couple of us, we were being bad in terms of the substance abuse. We were like five of us, and we were like doing the big H. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, I know
The
what you're talking
horse.
about.
Okay, so we were doing that. And hell, fuck, that's what. Um, I wasn't doing. I didn't take it intravenously. I was just taking these little snorts, and we did this for about a week. Somebody came down, so I had this nice little buzz going on, and I got on the bandstand, and I played with Buddy, and usually there's a sense of tension. You know what he's going to do, or but it's like you got to be on it. You can't like nod out or nothing. But I was in this zone where I was relaxed, but I was alert. And it was like whatever he threw at me, it was just like, bring it, motherfucker, come on. And there's a video out where we're playing Love for Sale out there in Disneyland, and you can see. And I remember the night, and and I think he found out that he figured something was going on with a couple of these guys in the band. They're not really. I don't know what he thought. By the end of the song, he's like the end. I don't know if you know that arrangement. He's basically tried to derail the band. But the point is, I get why some folks would do that. They thought it would open them up. And like I say, for that one week, it was like, I was in a zone where I was able to play, and I heard some stuff. It was like, whoa, it's got a little extra on it. It's got some hair on it. But I ended up a couple of months later trying to do it. It didn't work out. I've since haven't done that. I probably should. But the point is that that was part of the culture. Some folks might have helped them, you know, get in to find some areas. I don't condone it, and obviously something like that definitely, lethal when I was just like young and dumb and, you do what you do, and thank God I'm still here. But yeah, I mean, all for all those reasons, but you got to be,
Hey, listen, man,
yeah,
it's just part of your story, that's all.
part of my story. And I haven't really said that, so I appreciate it. And I hope but it's what it is. I've never really said that out there, and I hope I'm not stories. But it's what it was. The people that know, they know what it is. So I'm not, like I said, I'm gonna give you what I got.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing too, man. I mean, like, I mean, we've all made decisions on, and maybe they affected us well on the bandstand, or maybe not so well. Like one time, like I was so excited to go play with my band. Like I was leading my band at Blues Alley in DC, and I was so excited. Yeah, I couldn't sleep the night before, right? Because I was so excited, and
Sure.
and then we drove to DC, and I was just like sleep deprived, and like I'm like I don't like just did not feel well, correct? And like the band, the four of us, like we drank so much vodka before we hit the stage, like just to like you know, and then but then it was a point like
To
where
get
it's like
trying to do something.
yeah, where
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
like but
Well,
that's
how
just
did your gig turn out?
um I mean
Did you did
I
you get
wish
through it?
I don't remember, I don't
You don't
remember.
remember? Okay,
No, but I
okay.
mean, like,
No, I mean,
I had to like. That's the thing, man. It's like I was just so excited I couldn't sleep. I was on adrenaline, so I needed to like calm down. You know.
it's called it's called EQing, brother.
Yeah. This is
Yeah, the
like this is a
EQ.
long time ago. This is like I was like this is like 2013 or something. So long time ago.
Okay, yeah, that's a while ago. Yeah, sure, sure. What I was talking about was like 1985 or something like that. So I was like, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, you do what? Yeah, what's it? I mean, we're human. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
we're
saying. Yeah, I mean,
human.
I know that. I mean, that's a great room. I'm excited. I mean, yeah, I could think back. I could probably count at least on one hand the number of times I probably had to do that. Self-medicating thing and to try to cool out from some major thing, and maybe went a little too far and did. I mean, I got through it, but it's like, damn, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Because but you do what. Um, are you still okay? Good. Um, but you do what you do, and you learn. Once again, it's a learning process. You probably did do that again.
Yeah, no, that was the
Like,
that was that no, that was one and
so
done.
that was probably so. It's like I got to figure something. So next time, yeah, So yeah, but I get it. That's kind of funny. But yeah, so now you got these guys on, and then you had to go home after that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Or you
how
stayed.
I think we took a cab. That's what we did.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, you living down? Yeah, I'm thinking like driving, but
Oh no,
still,
no,
the point. And then what
no.
was the next morning like? Did you have a hangover
The well, I know I was okay, but the piano player he had a rough go at it, on the way back. But
Still, that's what I'm saying. That's the other thing. You got to know yourself.
yeah,
So it was kind of me thinking of a long thing. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, the point is you have to be an adult because you're going up there. You're representing yourself. You're also playing with other guys. I remember one time. It's funny you mentioned. I was playing with a great piano player, but he had some issues that he was so high that he could barely. This was another. He could barely play. I mean, he could
yeah,
barely. It was like, and it was a shame because it should have been like, But I think he was. I was just too nervous about it. Just kind of did a little extra than he should have, and we all paid for that. Couldn't play because he literally would just be up there and then like something would stop or something we stop. It's just like I'm pissed and I get high too, but it's like so I can't, so it's we gotta, so that's important. So for those people listening out there, and drinking too, the legal stuff too, I'm not really sure what's going on with the vapes and all this other stuff they got out. Once again, just balance, and don't do stuff because other people are doing stuff. I know we're kind of going off the subject. I'm putting on
No, no,
my,
no, no. This is great.
but that's important too. And finding folks that are, like-minded and want the same thing you want. It's a big world out there. It's a big, so that's what you
Yeah,
got to do. All
yeah.
right,
I
what else?
mean, we've all had our experiences. So as far you mentioned like for for the people listening, which is a good way for me to ask you the next question. And you were talking about support as the bass player and the role you have to play in the band. So, for you, what do you think it is like specific? If you're going to put your finger on it, what do you hope that those who want you to play in their band, like what they love about your playing? Are there certain things like I really like this is something I might have worked really hard on? I hope they like that, or the overall just the energy. Like, do you ever think about that? Like, I want to be called for this reason, what that has to do with my playing?
Yeah. I think about that all the time. I still think about it. Wish I could go back 30 years and redo some of the things that I did. But yeah, I mean, what do I want? I mean, the things I've been working on, I think I'm the most just my time feel, my time trying to play a good solid time with a decent feel. Hopefully, whatever genre I'm playing, I'm knowledgeable enough so that it kind of feels like it's supposed to feel. So I hope they remember that, just that, and also hopefully my ears. 'Cause I don't play a lot. So you're not going to get a ton of like chops from me. So if you want that, if I get lucky once in a while, you might find something that might be okay. But I'm not that kind of player. But hopefully, they'll want me because I'm listening to what they're doing. I'm trying to, you know, I'm hearing their changes. I'm hearing the idiosyncrasies that they have that they may not even know they have,
Hmm.
and which we all have. So I'm trying to key in and just try to be just mainly just being supportive and just being flexible. You're not being, not like, like, oh, complaining. So just try to, and also off the bandstand being, somewhat sociable, I mean, not some kind of weirdo, I feel like I can talk to people, kind of like I'm talking. So yeah, I mean, just good guy to be, hanging around and hopefully, the music will sound good. And I'm going to challenge myself. I might challenge them. I may throw something out there that they might not have expected, but hopefully might work. So I'm constantly looking to do those things, and I just hope maybe they pick up on it. And of course, I want to show up on time for all those business things. So yeah,
When
that's
you
just
you start on
basically it.
electric, right? You start with electric, if I'm not mistaken, or
No, I started on upright.
Oh, you
I
started
played
upright.
classical,
Okay.
and then I taught myself electric. I guess my first second year in college.
So do you still, I mean, is it still the same excitement playing electric for you, as it is the upright, or is it, something like you wish you could do more
It's not
of?
well. I don't know. I actually do quite a bit of electric. I mean, I play in church, and
The church,
there's some
yeah.
gigs that I do. The gig I do with our co-friend Jared Walser. There's a vocalist pianist named Raimundo Santos. We play with him, and he does like a mixed bag. He does some jazz, some pop, some like R&B. So I get to work that out. And some other gigs, if they're not too particular, I mean, maybe straight ahead gigs. I play the electric. It's about the same. Back in the day, I was kind of like one of those champions of the electric bass because back in the '80s, they kind of when these young lion types came in. One of the first things they did was like outlaw the use of electric bass in
Oh,
anything
like
like straight
outlaw,
ahead.
like no, no, but no electric
Like
bass.
they know, and not only that, you got to play unplugged, so no amps. So you got motherfuckers that unless you're some big guy, unless you had a bass that could cut through, you weren't playing with anybody, stuff like that. So finally, so I was back then. I was like, well, thought I could swing just as hard on this electric, and the electric bass has been out. It's actually really an electric lute. You think about it, it's a fretted instrument, and lutes have been out, came out before guitars, certainly before saxophone. So this is just an electric version of that. So I mean, just this whole thing, but that came and went. But right now it's like I treat them both the same. Like I never got into like the slapping or any those kind of techniques on electric bass. I like hearing it. I would love to do it, but I just it doesn't seem to come
I
with me.
played
But
upright in
I
high school for
appreciate it.
4 years, actually.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I love
Right, hates
upright.
the cow. All right. Well, I love it. I mean, I love what's appropriate. You know, it doesn't matter. I try not to make the distinction myself. I try to if I'm playing a jazz gig and if I'm playing electric, I'm going to try to play most of the same notes I would play anyway. I'm not going to hopefully not overplay because I
That's what
have a
I'm kind of
band.
asking you. Yeah, you answered it. Like you're still gonna think the
No,
same when it comes.
I kept that in mind. Yeah, back in the day, I've had like a lot of experiences playing in those situations, so I know how to. I think I've learned over the years how to, make the electric bass, fit into by the note choices I play. I think that's like I say, just trying to listen and blend in. So it's not about, and also the immediacy of the attack of the electric bass can be kind of jarring, as opposed to the acoustic. It just kind of the attack is a little bit delayed. It just kind of blends into the acoustic sound of all the instruments. The electric, so I've learned to kind of finesse the quarter note, if that makes any sense. So it may have a little bounce to it, but it's not, so electric sounding, for lack of a
Yeah,
better
Jared
word.
was telling me that you play electric on the gigs with him, which I thought was great. I love hearing about
Mm.
that. I also want to talk to you about Sid Simmons because they're really, you
Uh,
try to find interviews and that stuff on YouTube, but there really is not too much, video footage of him speaking about the music and everything. So I'd love to know, like, just more, if that's okay, more about how you guys met and the working relationship. Um, so I mean, wherever you want to, wherever it comes to mind, please feel free to start.
uh, that's it. When I meet Sid, sorry, I go to this every night. This motherfucker's been dead for like probably 13 years. If I miss anybody, and I miss a lot of people, but I miss him. I miss him being in this physical place.
Mhm.
Miss him. I'm reminded of that. But it's okay because I want to miss him. Because the day I stop missing him, then something's wrong. So anyway, he
I
started.
hope it's okay that I asked.
No, it's fine. No, I love him. I was really kidding me. Shit, that's my dude. That's my dude. I owe him so much. I owe him so much. When did I meet him? Well, actually, I'd heard of him before. I mean, so, learning about the music before I moved to Philadelphia. I was very familiar with Grover Washington, Mr. Matthew, and all his stuff. He had done some albums with a bunch of New York guys, and then later on, he started doing some albums with his band. They called themselves Locks. They did a pretty famous one live at the BG, a couple other ones. So I was familiar with the name. I'd seen the name, and then I'd heard him on the record. It sounded like he had like some kind of herdy stuff. He sounded cool. So anyway, I met him. I think he was playing in town with a sextet group that would bring some people in. I think Charles Fambro was on the gig, and some horn players would come in from New York. But fast forward a little bit, the violinist John Blake Jr., his son is Jonathan Blake. Sid was playing in his group, and that's where we met. The drummer, Pete Vincent, with Sid that worked with the Grover's Locksmith band. They were both, and actually John was in the band too. So like three guys from that band, they had formed, worked with John. So Pete got me in. So that's when I first started playing with Sid. And then started playing a little bit here and there gigs. And then I just fast forward to maybe the mid '90s. That's when we got to gig as the house band with the Ortliebs with drummer Byron Landon. That went on for forever. And I don't know. I mean, I wasn't driving at the time. A lot of times, pick me up and take me to gigs and stuff. We listened to a lot of music, and he's back almost like 10 years older than myself. And he was just he always gave it. He always tried. He always played. He always played. He always and what impressed me the most, impressed a lot of people, is the way he would comp behind horn players. It doesn't matter how good or not good. He always, it's about integrity, about really trying to find some stuff, about being authentic. Oh God, so much. He told me that, I asked him who his favorite pianists were, and he said they were Herbie Hancock, McCoy Tyner, Horace Silver, and Andrew Hill.
Andy
So I
Milne.
don't know if you know Andrew Hill.
Oh, I think I said Andy Milne. Sorry.